Tonight, tears and tributes for Grace O'Malley Kumar, the student from London who was killed in the Nottingham attacks. The 19-year-old played hockey for England and had been studying medicine at the city's university. Her distressed parents joined a public vigil, and her father had this poignant message to all of her friends.
Look after each other. It's the big thing.
Also ahead, anger and frustration at the lack of justice and change 6 years after the Grenfell fire.
The ancient Roman secrets hidden in Southwark. Archaeologists make a very rare discovery.
And find out why, on a beautiful summer's day, I've had to dig out all my cold gear and I'm feeling really chilly once again.
Good evening. The family of a talented young hockey player from London who was stabbed to death during a series of attacks in Nottingham have paid tribute to their adored daughter and sister. 19-year-old Grace O'Malley Kumar was at the top of her game in the world of sport. She played hockey for England and was a talented cricketer too, according to her former club in Essex. Grace had been studying medicine at Nottingham University before she was killed along with 2 other people in the city yesterday. Today, her distressed parents joined a vigil in their honour. Sam Holder reports.
Like so many her age, Grace O'Malley Kumar had left London to go to university. Nottingham was her destination, a place that should have been the time of her life. Instead, the place where it was cruelly taken away. The university campus is now a vigil. Thousands of students coming out to remember her and fellow student Barnaby Webber. When Grace's parents pictured coming to visit her university, it could never have been under these circumstances. She was there to study medicine, just like her father, who addressed the crowds who'd turned up to pay their respects.
You know, the love that we have out here, I just wish we had it everywhere. So, look after each other. It's the big thing. She loved me and she loved all of you. She really did. And you should all feel very blessed. She was so full of her stories and things that she said about all of you. You all touched her life and hence ours. You'll never be forgotten by us, certainly. We have children who were taken away prematurely from us. That should never happen to any parent. But all I can say to all of you guys is that thank you for things you did for our daughter and Barney. And look out for each other. Thank you.
Grace had just finished her first-year exams.
What was taken from us yesterday will never be given back, and the shockwaves echo through our student community.
A talented hockey player, her university teammates embraced her parents. She represented England under 16s and under 18s. Her club was Southgate. In a statement, they described her as a huge talent and said they were shocked and devastated by the news. It wasn't just hockey. She played cricket for Woodford Wells. The club said she was fiercely competitive, talented and dedicated, and that she was fun, friendly and brilliant. Her school, Bancroft in northeast London, described her as immensely gifted and a dedicated scholar and sportswoman, hugely loved and greatly respected. She'll be missed terribly. 19-year-old Grace was stabbed to death in Nottingham city centre, one of 3 victims of a series of attacks. ITV News understands the 31-year-old suspect, originally from West Africa, has a history of mental health problems. The circumstances still aren't clear, but what is the hole being left in this family. A daughter, a sister, and in their words, a wonderful and beautiful young lady. Sam Holder, ITV News.
And there'll be more on that vigil in Nottingham and the ongoing investigation into the attacks in the ITV News evening news at 6:30. Today marks the 6th anniversary of the fire at Grenfell Tower, but for survivors and bereaved families, the passing of time has only ramped up further tension and frustration. Some of those who escaped the fire that killed 72 people have been telling ITV News that there hasn't been enough progress in seeking justice and that disappointment is now turning into anger. Rags Martel reports.
At Grenfell, they remember. 72 lives lost in the tower. Deaths caused by an unsafe building. Eddie, can I speak to you then?
Yeah.
6 years ago, those who made it out alive
My name's Eddie Daffan.
believed the disaster would bring change.
In the days after the fire, when I stood under the carcass of Grenfell Tower, I was convinced that it would be the catalyst for social change. And here we are 6 years later on, and so little has changed. I think the feeling among my own feeling and the local community is one of frustration beginning to turn to anger.
When the fire happened, there was an overwhelming sense that this should never happen again. And yet today, 6 years after the tragedy, the fire brigade says there are more than 1,000 buildings in London that they say are unsafe.
Oh my God!
This was Croydon just last week. A building with flammable materials on the outside and residents told to stay put in their flats.
The government seems to choose to be playing a form of kind of perverted Russian roulette in that, they're willing to allow buildings still to be covered in dangerous cladding 6 years after the fire. And, as we've said all along, Grenfell 2 is in the post.
At the Royal Institute of British Architects, they champion the best building makers. Is there a part of you which is embarrassed at the quality of build in this country?
All of us, must feel in some way complicit with what went on at Grenfell. Right the way through the chain of command. I don't think anybody was showered in glory. So I think it is generally embarrassing that we got our industry into that state. I gave a talk to final year students just a couple of weeks ago, and I showed a picture of Grenfell Tower ablaze. And these young people, the sudden intake of breath. Grenfell is being used as an icon, if you like, to remind people of their responsibilities and how serious they are.
One of the other lessons of the Grenfell fire is that people who live in social housing need to have their rights respected. And we've also introduced new laws which give tenants a stronger voice and also ensure that if people are living in homes that are not safe, that action is taken earlier.
We need buildings to be safe, we need dangerous cladding removed, and it's only when those kind of things happen that we'll be able to move on.
Well, Rags joins us from West London, where the anniversary is being marked. And Rags, a lot of pain and still very few answers for these families.
That's right, Carolyn. It's a day of reflection and remembrance here. 6 years is actually 72 months, and that's 1 month passing for every life lost here. And like every big anniversary, take a look at this. The community have gathered together like they have always done for the silent walk, dressed in green mainly. They'll set off at 6:30. It's something that used to happen every month, and it's now just twice a year. 6 years have passed, but the pain here is still very much raw. 6 years on, this is very much a community still grieving. 6 years on, there has been no justice, no arrests, and they're still waiting for the delayed Grenfell inquiry report to be published. 72 people died here in 2017, and despite everything that has happened, another Grenfell could happen tonight.
OK, Rags, thanks very much indeed. Other news now, and a man has been jailed for life for the murder of a 50-year-old man in a cemetery in Tower Hamlets. Ranjith Kankanamolage from Whitechapel was killed in August 2021 by Eric Feld, who attacked him with a hammer. Police say Feld showed a brutal low of humanity, and he will serve a minimum of 28 years in prison. A man has been seriously injured after falling onto the tracks at Westminster Tube Station. An air ambulance, fire service and the police were called to the scene this afternoon. Passengers have faced severe delays since the incident. And the cause of a fire which broke out in a 6-storey office block in Marylebone yesterday is still unknown. 80 firefighters from across London were called to George Street at around 6 o'clock in the evening. No one was injured. Next, it's emerged today that emergency departments in southwest London are facing record-breaking demand, and the start of a 3-day junior doctor strike is making matters much worse. St George's, Epsom and St Heliers accident and emergency departments had their highest ever number of patients on Monday due to the hot weather. Harry Fawcett reports.
London's hospitals are becoming accustomed to what some are calling a new normal. Another 3-day strike by junior doctors hitting emergency departments particularly hard.
It has got worse.
At a time when the system was already under strain from the pandemic, a busy winter and now a heat wave.
And on top of that, we now have the industrial action from a number of healthcare professional groups. So we've had the nurses, we've got the junior doctors, and the consultant ballots is awaited. So the system is under immense pressure, and it's worse than I've ever seen it.
The strike has removed about half the doctors who'd usually be working across the hospital. But here in the A&E department, the toll is worse.
On a normal day, Kingston's A&E department would have 14 junior doctors on shift. Today, we're told it's just 1 or 2, with just 2 extra consultants to try to make up the difference. For them, for the rest of the staff here, it's a busy day.
One of many in recent days. High temperatures and pollen counts in London this week have seen record summer numbers. On Monday, St George's, Epsom and St Heliers A&Es saw 1,250 people across the 3 departments. Kingston and Croydon University hospitals also saw record-breaking demand. Kingston saw 530 patients, while Croydon had 622. And on Monday alone, London Ambulance Service took more than 7,700 calls. Outside University College London Hospital, the junior doctors were making their case once more for a 35% pay rise to make up for what they say are 15 years of real terms cuts.
The government are completely at blame. They can stop the strikes today, tomorrow, even on Friday. All they need to do is come to us and present us with a meaningful, credible offer that we can put to the membership. If they're not able to do that, unfortunately, strikes will go on.
The government insists such demands are unrealistic.
We've made them an offer, 5% plus a lump sum, in line with what's been offered for paramedics, for midwives, for nurses, for many others with the NHS. And today, unfortunately, the junior doctors have refused to move.
With neither side talking, there are warnings that a summer of high demand and continued strikes lies in store. Harry Fawcett, ITV News, Kingston upon Thames.
Still to come on the programme, we have the full weather forecast, plus the London boxer who pretended to be a boy to get ahead in the sport, and
my daughter's now 18, I can't believe it. She's one of those teenagers who wears tons of makeup, you know, she makes RuPaul look like a trucker. The whole pandemic.
The Essex comedian who stunned the judges at Britain's Got Talent.
Fairly drunk.
But first, it's believed to be one of the most intact Roman structures of its kind to be discovered in the UK. Just a stone's throw from Borough Market and London Bridge Station, archaeologists have discovered what's being described as an astonishing Roman tomb at a development site. Kafok Patter has been for a look.
Before there were Londoners, there were Romans, and I'm here at what some thousands of years ago would have been an ancient Roman burial site. Now, yesterday, archaeologists announced that they had discovered the remains of a mausoleum. I'm no historian, but I do have with me Andrew Henderson. Andrew, you're from the Museum of London Archaeology. Can I just ask, what are the chances of finding something like this on a building site?
Well, we knew there was likely to be some Roman material here because a previous excavation in the 1980s had uncovered Roman buildings just to the east of us. But finding something of this kind of magnitude was really unprecedented.
And why is it so significant?
So it's the most intact Roman mausoleum ever discovered in Britain. So alongside a really beautiful mosaic at its centre, we've also discovered the remains of the platforms where the coffins would have been arranged. And that gives us a really good idea of how the kind of internal areas of these monuments were organised.
So am I right in saying that London was part of ancient Rome?
Well, certainly, yeah. It's clear that London was a key part of the Roman Empire at this time. But what this site shows us is that this part of London, now Southwark, was also a really kind of integral part of the city.
OK, so this site is currently Roman-free. There are no artefacts. What's happened to them?
So all of the artefacts from this site have been lifted and they've been taken away to our specialist processing facility. Here they're going to be cleaned and analysed by various experts. But what's really exciting is that the developer on this site, Landsec, alongside TfL and Southwark Council, have committed to retaining and restoring the mausoleum so that it can be enjoyed by future generations.
Amazing. Andrew, thank you very much. Well, there you have it. You may not be able to see what was discovered just yet, but once Andrew and his team are done with it, everyone should be able to see all of the famous and historic Roman artefacts found right here.
Cafok patter there. Creative industries across the capital have been given more funding and a promise of 1 million more jobs across music, film and fashion projects. Culture Secretary Lucy Fraser visited Pinewood Studios in Slough ahead of the announcement by the government, where she said that the £50 million investment was vital in preserving the London art scene.
It's really important that we maintain our creative excellence in areas that are already excellent. So another thing that we're announcing today is investment and support for the London Film Festival and for London Fashion Week. They are creative excellence in the South, and we want to ensure that they continue.
Tributes have been made to the former Chelsea player and manager John Hollins, who's died at the age of 76. Hollins made almost 600 appearances for the club before taking them to the top of the table during his 3 years as manager in the 80s. His son, Chris Hollins, said today he was his hero, modest but a great player and brilliant teammate. Now she's on her way to becoming a world champion, but Caroline Dubois' journey into the top ranks of women's boxing wasn't an easy one. The 22-year-old, who was born and raised in London, pretended to be a boy when she was 9 so she could train at Repton Boxing Club in Bethnal Green. Well, ahead of her next fight, Caroline spoke to our reporter Daniel Henry about the massive surge in interest in the women's side of the sport.
Caroline Dubois was born to box.
I was 9 years old when I started. 9 years old, yeah. And obviously, I had to say I was a boy because back in the day, Repton was on the walls. It even said it, Repton Amateur Boys Boxing Club. They were very, old school, and there was no female boxing. There was no female Olympics, so there was no point.
Now she'll be fighting at London's York Hall, known as the spiritual home of British boxing, just a year after turning professional.
It's amazing. Katie Taylor fought there, Muhammad Ali fought there, everybody fought there. I feel like everybody should fight at the York Hall at least once in their career, and it's close to where I grew up and where I trained, so it's really amazing. I remember watching Sugar Ray Leonard, Duran, Tommy Hearns, Hagler, and I was inspired by these guys. Muhammad Ali, the greatest, and I fell in love with it.
It's a place packed with history and heat, according to her coach.
Well, York Hall's the home of like almost domestic level professional boxing. It's an amazing little venue. The fact that there's the balconies on top, it feels like the crowd is right on top of you. So what I will say, it's going to be very hot because there's not a lot of air conditioning. So for us, I've been in there in the summer. It's been roasting. So it's a historic venue, but I think one that we're going to have to make sure that she's well hydrated and she warms up well.
Despite that, Caroline's fans are certain that she'll keep her cool and get the job done.
What do you reckon this weekend? This South American.
I've seen the fighter in there now. She does look tough, but Caroline's got that, yeah.
So what are we talking? What knockout? Have you got a round?
I reckon KO for Caroline.
Yeah, round yeah. What?
3, I'll say.
Round 3?
Yeah, 3. Yeah.
Okay. What about you?
I'll say 5 to Caroline.
Caroline and 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
So are her fans right? We'll find out Friday night. Daniel Henry, ITV News.
Fantastic. Well, our guest tonight is a true inspiration, fresh from the semi-finals of Britain's Got Talent. He's about to go on tour after overcoming 2 strokes.
When the whole pandemic was kicking off, I did what many people did here, which was to spend the next 2 years fairly drunk. I need a drink. Well, it's only 5:30. Better wait till 6 o'clock. All right, 5:45, I'm opening the drink. 6 o'clock, woof. All right, new plan. One more at 6:30, another one at 7, and then I will get up and make my daughter some breakfast.
It is, of course, Essex comedian Marcus Birdman, and I'm pleased to say he joins me now. Have you recovered from that semi-final? It must be a really big deal.
It's pretty nerve-wracking, yeah, but it is a big deal, yeah.
It is. So, What was it like when you've got Simon Cowell there with hitting his red button? You've still got to carry on.
Yeah, he's a force to be reckoned with. He's a bit like Darth Vader. So you've got to kind of navigate around that one and sort of please the king. I think, but no, it seemed to go good and seemed to be all right. Yeah.
It must have been one of the biggest gigs of your life, do you think?
I would have said so. I mean, I've done like Leeds and Reading Festival with numbers are bigger, like 5,000 to 6,000 people, but that's a big kind of, event, and it's pretty nerve-wracking, and you've seen it on TV as well, so you see it from the other side, so it's a bit like, oh, okay, this is where I am. Yeah.
Differently. And what did you think about the winner this year, Viggo Venn? There was some divided opinion on his performance, wasn't there?
Yeah, I mean, there always will be divided opinion. I guess comedy is, subjective, and people love it or they hate it, and he's certainly divided people. I mean, he's a friend of mine, and he's a terrific comedian, and but same with me. Lots of people thought I was great, and lots of people really didn't. Boy, did they ever not.
Oh, I don't know about that. I'm sure it wasn't that bad. So you're kicking off your tour starting in September. You're going to start off in Southend. Good choice.
Thank you.
You come from Lee.
Yeah.
How do you think the Essex jokes are going to go down there?
I mean, it's all said with fondness. It's true. So I don't really. I mean, it's funny because a lot of people are going to go, "Oh, you're quite you sail quite close to the wind or whatever," and I'm thinking, I don't really. So it's all done with love and bit of a tickle. I'm not going for the jugger. I'm not trying to offend anyone, of course.
No, exactly. But are your live shows a bit more risque? Did you have to tone it down to go on Britain's Got Talent?
Yeah, you do have to. I mean, for obvious reasons, you've got to kind of toe the line, and it's primetime TV, and so certain subjects are, for obvious reasons, very off the table. Others, you have a bit of a wrangle with the kind of production. So going, why can't I say that? And you have to try and argue your case. But it's an interesting process for me because, as you say, if I'm doing it live, I can pretty much say what I want, really.
And a lot of your comedy is about having recovered from these 2 strokes. Yeah. I mean, how much has comedy helped you kind of get over that big life event?
Yeah, I mean, enormously. I mean, it's an interesting thing because I think. It's a sensitive subject, of course, and I don't wish to be glib about it. I don't wish to be kind of rude, but it's and a lot of people aren't ready to laugh about things like that. A lot of people will never be ready. But it was very good for me to kind of get back on the horse, as it were, and to find the positives out of it, rather than curling up into a ball, which I had a feeling I wouldn't mind at certain points and did at certain points. So I think I kind of look at the positives, and I'm very grateful that I didn't lose my speech, which could happen in stroke, and I was also very grateful that it gave me an incentive to kind of get better. And there's some funny things. It's by definition an extraordinary position to find yourself in.
It is.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And a great inspiration that you are, and congratulations and good luck on the tour.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much indeed. Well, we've got Sally here with us now. I hope this good weather will keep going.
Well, yes, is the short answer to that question. I mean, it depends if people like it or not. Not everyone's a big fan of the heat, but at the moment, the reason why it's nice is because it's not quite as sticky as it has been. Those uncomfortable nights when you're never quite sure, is it because it's humid or did you have too many gin and tonics? But they are going to get a little bit sticky again this weekend, so enjoy it whilst it lasts. Here we go, here's the forecast.
ITV London weekday weather is sponsored by Octopus Electric Vehicles. Car, charger and energy.
Hello again. I hope you had a lovely day, managed to enjoy some of the sunshine, plenty more of it to come tomorrow and into Friday. It's staying lovely and warm. Some of you might find it a bit hot actually. Breezier though by the coast and a bit fresher there. As we move into the weekend, that humidity starts to return and the shower risk as well. Let's take a look at the pressure chart. So high pressure as we head into the weekend starts to edge away slightly as low pressure moves in from the south and west. It brings that more moist air, and that's why we're going to see things feeling a little bit stickier, a bit more uncomfortable for sleeping. The chance of showers on Saturday and maybe even the risk of some thunderstorms on Sunday. We'll keep you posted. Right, let's take a look at tonight. Well, another beautiful beautiful evening. Plenty of sunshine for you for the end of the day. Clear skies again overnight. So our temperatures falling down to the mid to low double figures. It could actually get down into single figures in a few of those cold spots in the countryside. And there might just be a touch of mist first thing tomorrow morning, but that will burn off pretty quickly as the sun returns and gives us another glorious summer's day. A little bit breezier at the coast, so things will feel a little bit fresher there, but our temperatures doing very well, 24 to 29. There might just be a little bit more fair weather cloud bubbling up tomorrow, the odd chance of a shower, but most places staying completely dry, just into the weekend where it gets a bit more unsettled. Here's the pollen.
ITV London weekday weather is sponsored by Octopus Electric Vehicles.
Hello, summer. Piri sponsors ITV Pollen Count.
Well, without any rain, or at least the guarantee of it, the forecast for pollen is remaining very high over the next few days for grass pollen, nettle pollen and wildflowers as well, amongst other things. That's your forecast for now.
And Sally's here now. I am loving this warmer weather, but you've been somewhere a bit cooler today, haven't you?
I can honestly say that today I could barely feel my hands and fingers by the time I finished. I had a cold nose, and when I came out into the weather, I got that wall of heat, which was actually rather lovely. So where, pray, have I been?
Where have you been?
Well, I've been to a new venue at Lee Valley. We could take a little look at it now, an activity that I'm not particularly talented at, but I do very much love. Here we go.
They're not the clothes I thought I'd be wearing in a heat wave, but a new ice rink means a return to the old gear.
I didn't think I'd say these words this week, but I'm really cold.
Lee Valley Ice Centre has reopened with not one but 2 rinks now.
First step on the ice.
There we go.
How does it feel?
It's ice.
I don't know what I was expecting.
Please take my arm.
Oh, thank you, kind sir.
We'll be back.
Here we go.
And to take me for a spin, former Olympic champion Robin Cousins. For me, it felt like my very own Patrick Swayze moment.
These are your airplane wings.
Okay.
Keep the body weight slightly forward so you're...
And I did love his references.
Imagine you've got your hands on the bar and you're deciding which gin and tonic you want to pick up.
That happens quite a lot to me. Do I go for a Gordon's?
Robin first skated here several decades ago.
Robin, you opened this in the 80s. Is it very sorry
Yes,
to remind
thank
you.
1985.
Is it very nostalgic being back here?
It is, and at an economic time where some of our ice rinks that closed during COVID didn't reopen, here we are in the middle of the summer, opening a twin pad ice rink facility.
Kind of bonkers.
It's
in a heat wave.
It's thrilling. Well, listen, if it's too hot, you want to come and cool off and have a lovely time, come and do some recreational ice skating.
Yeah, you'll definitely cool off here, won't you?
Welcome at Lee Valley, ice hockey players, figure skaters and complete beginners.
Are you going to come back?
Yeah, ask my mum.
Yeah? What do you reckon she'll say?
She'll probably say yes.
Brilliant. Okay. Whoa! Oh, we all nearly went then. What have you done to make this place as green as possible?
You're right, the environmental story is at the heart of any build in this day and age, and for an ice centre that is particularly important. So whether it's the refrigeration units here, they're as efficient as possible, 300 solar panels on the roof, and a really important water story.
That being, they recycle all of it. There's also plenty of helping hands. So whether your feet are tiny or very talented, it's certainly a cool way to spend some time. Sally Williams, ITV News in the Lee Valley.
Incredible. You don't even feel...
Yeah, great place to be in this heat. Well, that's it from us. The ITV News at 6:30 is up next with Lucrezia. But for now, from all of us on the London team, goodbye.